Welcome back, everybody. Hi, Lace. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. This is episode number 2 of Catching You, a dad and daughter's journey to with softball. So last week we talked a little bit how the beginnings with the funny names of the teams and the funny nicknames and how you know um, fun it was, right? And softball's fun, right? But then there's also tough times what we're going to get into later. But we're going to kind of continue to talk about the beginnings, maybe get a little more depth of rec ball, and and how that shaped, why are you where you are today, right? So, my earliest memories of you, my earliest memories of you, um, was when you first started pitching, right?
hmm
Misfits, or yeah, it was a Misfits, right?
I
T-ball.
did.
Yeah, it was
I don't think I.
T-ball.
s- I don't think I pitched in t-ball though.
No, it was coach pitch, right? So you
Yeah.
you you would swing maybe 2 or 3 times if you missed, or you coach pitch, and then they put it on the tee, and then you would hit it and run as fast as you can.
Yeah.
um, and then it was the Diamond Queens, and then I think there was no pitching there.
Mm-mm.
And then you got the Sweet Heat, and then I think Abby and Abby was pitching most of the time. Abby and Bree both were pitchers,
No,
and then you're
Bree
like,
Bree caught. Bree
that's
caught.
right,
Abby pitched.
that's right. Abby pitched, and then you kind of came in. There might have been one other person that was pitching, but that's kind of was your first taste of pitching, right?
hmm
Can you? I don't know. What were your thoughts at that time? I don't know. You were super young. You're probably 6 or 7 years old, but um, you know, we'll get into like pitching lessons. But what were your thoughts at the time, if you remember?
Well, was I starting pitching lessons
Yeah,
yet?
you started with Coach Katie. Yep.
Um, I don't really remember like how I felt.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember going to pitching lessons at my soon-to-be high school, um, in the bullpen with her,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's videos of me in bright, flaming hot socks with flames on them doing a pitching lesson. But
Yeah.
I don't really remember what I was like thinking. I just thought I was just like doing it to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was at the high school I taught at, right? So I opened this high school. Um, I think I was the first teacher hired there, and I was the head basketball coach. So I had access to everything, right? I had access to the softball fields and the cages and stuff. So we hired Coach Katie to teach you to pitch, and there's videos of you just squeezing your legs together in those flaming hot socks, right?
Yeah.
Super cute. Um, there's a couple of couple where you just throw it directly into the ground, and my
But
first thought
I
was,
think I think I didn't I didn't really care whether I threw it into the ground or not.
it was
I
more
think that's what I
technique, right?
remember. Yeah, like I think Katie sometimes told me at points, she's like, I don't care where it goes, just do this mechanic correctly.
Right,
And then I would throw it straight into the ground, but she's like, look, like you squeeze your legs together or you snap this well.
right,
So that kind of taught me to like not really to really focus on the mechanics first, and then the pitch will come after that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as a father, I was worried. I'm like, are we
This is
like
not
wasting our
good.
money?
It's not good.
And in the early days, and we'll talk about it in other episodes, but I was just like, what are we doing here? Like, are we wasting our money? Like, but then you started getting better, right? You started hitting the glove, you started pitching in sweet heat, and you were throwing strikes, and girls were striking out. And, um, so yeah, and then she taught you the changeup, right? So it was 2 pitches, right? It was this fastball right down the middle, and then she taught you I don't know if you can see me on the screen, but a flip change, right? Uh,
Flip change up.
can you describe? I don't. Again, you're too young, maybe, but do you remember doing that at all?
I specifically remember the importance of a changeup. Like she drilled that into my head. Like you need to have a changeup. This is the most important pitch of your life, basically.
Right.
Um, and to this day, I throw the same exact flip changeup,
Yep.
and it turned out to be one of my best pitches like throughout my whole career.
Oh yeah,
So
100%. I mean, there's people out there in the softball community who know you. That's what you're known for, right? You're known for your
yeah,
changeup.
yeah. And then when I do my lessons, because I'm a pitching coach as well,
Hmm.
I make sure that if they do have a changeup, or if they come in without having a changeup, that they need a changeup.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't care how you throw it, you just need one, and
Yeah.
we're gonna perfect it.
Just
Um,
get that spin, right? You just want to try to get that. Again, you talked about it just earlier, right? It's the foundation of the fundamentals of it. Don't worry about where it goes now. Just get the correct spin on it,
mhm,
and then worry about where it goes later, right?
yep. So I don't remember. I don't really remember like learning it or really anything like that. I
Yeah.
just remember it like the importance of having one and just slowly getting better at it.
Yeah. So and I don't know if you remember again, but I would we'd be in my lounge chair watching you play, right? And when you started getting pretty good at the changeup, uh, I would you would throw fastballs all the time, but then I'd say, "Hey, Lace," and you look over, and I would wiggle my fingers like changeup, and you'd like nod your head, and then you'd throw the changeup. I remember. I think what? Go
I
ahead.
just because now like that like if say I just threw a changeup like out of the blue to my catcher, they'd be like, "What the heck?" Like, don't
Yeah,
do that.
yeah,
But like I feel like at that age, the catcher's just trying to catch the ball.
yeah.
So it didn't really matter. It's like fastball or changeup, like it's fine.
That's true because the catcher had no idea what you were throwing.
Nope. They had no idea.
Yeah, they didn't look over at me and say, "Oh, Lacey's throwing a changeup."
Nope.
Oh, yeah. So then I think you're on Pumas when you started like coming in your own and throwing the changeup more. And I remember, you're pitching against one of your better friends, Sophia, and and I'm a Lace, throw the changeup, and then Coach Al looked over and he's like, "You suck." He was so mad.
He knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So just now, let's just kind of transition. Now you're at Pumas. Now it's Cotton Candy Crushers. Now you're pitching more. I think Lily was kind of the main pitcher, and then you started becoming the number two. I'm not sure. There was another one. I forgot her name, but there was another girl. She threw pretty hard, but she was pretty wild. But can you just talk about now? You're kind of okay. This is something that I want to do. I'm starting to fall in love with the pitching. Do you describe that a little bit?
I don't specifically remember like the reason that I wanted to continue pitching or why I like really fell in love with it. I
Hmm.
just remember like since I started to get sort of like more consistent, throwing my changeup, going to lessons,
Hmm.
um, I started like asking you like, "Hey, can I pitch after school or can we come like go in the backyard because we have that RV parking space that we
Yeah.
don't use." And we would pitch back there or we would go to the field and do it there.
Yeah.
But I don't I just kind of just like wanted to do it and I maybe I mean people always tell this to like upcoming pitchers like but they want to be like the center of attention
Right.
because you have the ball every play
Yeah.
and you're in control pretty much all the time
Hmm.
and maybe I'm thinking because I just wanted to be in control of the game and I liked having control
Yeah.
and I still do and I still do and maybe that's just like the control freak in me that I had
Maybe.
in
Right.
that I had in me in like when I was 8 and I just wanted to I wanted to have that power over the other team. And
Right. You
I
want.
could do that by being a pitcher and controlling where my pitches go and
Hmm.
controlling my changeup or my spin. And so that so they wouldn't hit the ball or so they would ground out or pop up.
Right.
But I think that's why. I think it's because
Right.
I want to have control and I want to have the power.
Nice.
Basically,
We have a revelation here. Maybe we'll have
I
more revelations as
yeah
the episodes go on.
yeah.
Yeah, those are my favorite memories. I know the early days might have not been your favorite memories of our RV parking and me sitting on the bucket and you. But we did that for years, right? I mean, from
I
8
mean,
years old to now, right? I still
mhm.
I try not to catch you anymore, but because I
I
can't
don't
see.
I don't remember the last time we were back there. Maybe my freshman year. And I
No,
was like,
it
I
was.
said, Dad, I need a pitch over winter break. And you're like, oh, well, go get
Yeah,
a
I can't
catcher
see
then.
it. Yeah, go find one. I
Go
can't
find a
see it.
catcher. Yeah.
Yeah, but those are my favorite memories, right? When you first started out. Now, obviously, if you look at the gate, there's so many dents because there's so many times you missed me, and then how many times
Well, no, there were
would you
times
throw
where
it over?
I would throw it, you wouldn't move your glove, and it would be a good pitch, and it would
Yeah,
miss the glove, but you wouldn't move your glove to go catch it, so it would hit the gate, and then I would
right. Well, because you didn't
go
hit my
right.
glove.
Right. But it was a good pitch.
Right. No, I get it. And again, and we could talk about it a little bit now. You know, I wanted you to do so well, and then when you would not do well, like in practices, I would get. And again, this is me as a father. I would get pissed, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
God, hit the glove. And we do this every day, or you're taking lessons. Freaking hit the glove, Lace.
Mhm.
And then you wouldn't. You would throw it over the gate, and then I would have to open the gate, and I would walk across the street and go get the ball, and then throw it back to you as hard as I can.
Go to the
Um,
neighbor's yard,
Go in the neighbor's yard. I think maybe one time you threw it over, like it hit a rock and it went into the neighbor's yard. And we was like, ah, forget it. Let's just keep.
or I'd go in the
But
gutter.
yeah, but anyway, it just as a father, and again, this is kind of part of the reason why we're doing these episodes is I didn't handle it very well. I'm passive aggressive in nature, right? So when things don't go my way, I shut down or I get quiet. And that's what I would do with you. Like if you didn't have a good pitching session, I would get pissed and I would like not talk to you,
Yep.
right?
I'd walk
Other
inside
fathers
and
other fathers will like yell and scream like you sucked or whatever, but I
yeah, you're
shut
not a
down.
streamer, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so
not a
I would
streamer.
shut down and I would just ignore you and then you know and that was my way of saying okay that sucked, right?
Yeah, and I knew that, but,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like, it would bring me back to, like, the harsh reality of, like, "Oh, that I didn't pitch well." Like, because at a young age, like, there were certain points where I was like, "Oh, I thought I did well," but in reality, like, I didn't hit the spots, like, this times amount of 10, which is, like, not good enough, especially, like, if I'm
Hmm.
trying to exceed and, like, be a great pitcher is, like, you have to face the reality. I still face the reality today. Like, my pitching coach now is very realistic and will straight up tell me when I'm doing bad, which I appreciate.
Right.
But you
But
showed
they
it
tell
as
you.
you you showed it as mute.
I was mute. Yeah, I would not throw the ball back correctly to you. It would just so yeah. So I didn't handle it very well, and I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, you're freaking 8 years old. You're 9 years old,
Yeah.
and maybe now it's all stars, right? Now you're
Mhm.
on the A team with Chris and some really other good girls, and there's competition now. There's other girls that want to pitch,
Mhm.
and you're getting most of the innings, and those girls aren't, and there's some resentment there. So and so I wanted you to maybe I wanted you to be on top all the time. So that was my way of saying, okay, Lace, you need to start picking it up.
Yeah, I mean, well, because even like you and Coach Chris and I think more people started seeing like my potential,
Hmm.
and when I wasn't playing up to my potential, you're like, get it together, like
Yeah.
seriously. But like or like Coach Chris would always be like you don't know how good you are, and just constantly be saying that.
Right.
And I mean, it was true. Like, I really didn't know, but I was 8. So at
8?
the
You
same
were 8
time,
years old.
like 8-year-olds, and when I coach them, I ask them specific questions, and sometimes they're like, "Well, I don't know." And
Right.
I have to think like, well, obviously they don't know. They're just 8 years old. And I feel like when I was 8 years old, I was expected to know a lot of things, like more than these kids do. Like,
Right.
you don't know how good you are, or like sometimes Chris would be like, you should throw the changeup when in this count, in this count, in this count. I'm like, I don't know.
I
Like,
have no idea.
whatever.
Just tell me. Just
Um,
tell me when to throw it, and I'll throw
yeah.
it, right?
But I mean, it's a pro and con, because now I'm definitely more, I'd say, smarter with like pitch sequences. Like, I know what my pitch sequence, like, I want to do on these batters, but that comes from experience. But that was like my first ever, like, the start of when I was competitively pitching against others, especially on
Yeah.
other teams, when these girls are starting to be like actually good pitchers too. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm not the only girl in my city that pitches strikes every, like, consistently.
Right.
Like,
Right. Let's
so
let's go back to that. So you're coaching now,
yeah.
um, and you have 8-year-olds come in. What are you telling them as far as a mindset? Like, is that I don't know if that was ever taught to you. It's just like, hey, throw this pitch.
Yeah.
Technique wise, what do you tell 8-year-olds now? And I think you touched upon it, when we're off camera, that you ask them, like, do you really want to do this? Right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
tell me like what you say to these 8-year-olds, and what and your perspective, like, do you really want to do this? Like, go,
Well, yeah, I mean, some of them come in where they're like, yeah, I started pitching when I was 6, and I was watching all these girls on YouTube, and I watched the College World Series. I'm like, okay, like, you got a good understanding of what it takes to be a pitcher, and like they work it. They they ask their parents all the time, "Can we go pitch? Can we go pitch?" But then there's
Mhm,
others where they come in and they're very, like, shut down a little bit. You can tell they're very reserved. I ask them,
mhm,
um, "Do you watch college, girls in college pitch?" They're like, "Well, not really." And they're very quiet, but mostly when I'm coaching them and they're pitching and they mess up, or like it was a bad
yeah,
pitch, and
mhm,
I usually say, "Well, what were you thinking before you pitched it? What did you think before?" And
right.
sometimes they're like, "Well, I didn't think anything." I'm like, "Okay, well, you had to have thought something, um because something went wrong. So
Yeah.
before you pitch this next pitch, think about what you need to fix, just one thing, and see what happens." And usually it's a pretty good pitch the next time. And so I ask, like,
Right.
"What did you think about?" And it's either like a hard snap, or squeezing my legs, or hard leg drive. And it only has
Right.
to be one thing, because
Yeah.
at 8 years old it's the big mechanics, and then you work your way to the little mechanics as you get older. But
Right. Yeah. Because at
usually,
that age, if you give them too much information,
oh yeah,
it's
I
gonna
do
get
not
information overload.
I do not overload them at all. I try to keep
Yeah.
it as simple as possible, because I would know if I was 8 years old and you're giving me way too much information and way too many things to fix at one time, I would go
Mhm.
ballistic. Yeah.
And that's important, because when you were that age, and Coach Katie, or and then we'll get into Coach Susie, they would ask you the same thing, and you would say, "I don't know. I just it's more." You'd always say, "Oh, I just feel it."
Yeah,
Right.
I'm a big
So
feel
now
pitcher,
yeah.
and even I do ask sometimes my 8-year-olds, but some of them don't really know what I mean by that. So I do
Hmm.
more of like, "What do you think?" So I
Hmm.
with my more like 10U, 12U, I do say like, what did you feel on that? And usually they're able to answer. But if they're just starting
Right.
out pitching, they don't know what they're supposed to feel.
Right.
So if I ask like, what did you feel? They have no idea. So it's
Right.
just like the thinking process of what I need to fix, and then they
Right.
start to feel what's right and what's wrong as they gradually and work on it. If they don't work on it, then they're not going to be able to feel
Right.
it potentially.
Yeah. So, okay, we're kind of ending. We're getting towards the end here. We're going to be transitioning into travel ball, right? Because you're now 8 years old and Black Magic. Uh, we did really well. Your team only lost 3 games, I believe, and I think one of them was the last game of the season in Lancaster. I wasn't
Mhm.
there, but I think I think it was a complete mess. It was just, I think Chris played
I
everybody. He
the
was not.
the 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 name Lancaster just like rings a bell in my head, and
Yeah.
it's not a good feeling. I just don't know. I don't remember why, but it's not a good feeling
Right.
for sure.
Yeah. It was not a pleasant experience for anybody. But the Father's Day tournament was, I think one of your highlights, right? I think, in the semifinal game you had a home run. That's when you used to hit. And
When I
then
had a bat.
and then the final game you played against the host team, Kevin Nelson's team, and they're trying to mess with you and tell you that I don't know if you remember that they were trying to say that you had illegal pitches and trying to get in your
Oh,
head.
boo.
Yeah, yeah, boo
Whatever.
hoo hoo.
It's because I
But
was doing so well.
you eventually played with his daughter, Kayla,
Yeah.
right? Which is pretty cool, right? You had this competitive game against her when you're 8, and then you end up playing with her, and now she's at Utah, right? So,
Mhm.
pretty cool stuff. That's when things were starting to get a little serious, and we're going to talk about that on our next episode when we start getting into travel ball, because your all-star coach, Coach Chris, ended up creating a team
Mhm.
and brought you along, and then that's kind of when everything kind of shot through the moon as far as your experience in pitching and competition and mental health and all that kind of
Team
stuff, right?
Mizuno.
Team Mizuno, right?
Yep.
All right. So, any parting words, Lace? Anything you want to end with?
Um, I am very sore,
You're sore.
and I need to ice my arm.
Yeah, I'm sore because I worked out. I did legs on Monday, and my legs are sore. So
New
it's all
gym?
good. We're in a new gym. Yeah, me and
New
Mom are in a
gym?
new gym, and it's a bigger gym, so but it's different, right? But it's all good. We'll
Change
figure it out.
is good.
Change is good. All right, everybody. We will catch you on the other side. Next episode will be coming out. Again, subscribe and share this with others if you feel like the content that we're bringing is valuable to you guys. And Lace,
Love you.
love you, sweetie. Have a great day.
Thanks.